disappointed if devotees don't come through, but it's what it is, you know.
We all have lives going on and things are complicated. Yeah. Actually, next week, I hadn't thought about next week. Next week, I'll ask Krishna Kun. We can say something later on. Viren's here. But I think next week's going to be not possible for us because I'll be in Budapest.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to record now. So everybody don't say anything terrible about Chaitanya Prabhu or anything. All right.
Thanks for the warning, Prabhu.
Okay. Gora Graganya Gana Gocha Goloduharam Goranga Guda Tamagopyada Kopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachi Adile Kakola Kahe Premananda Hemona Goranga Hridoya Dadiya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I was thinking maybe we can chant a few verses together for some Mangalacharna, for some auspicious, since Krishna Kun's running into the room. She likes Mangalacharna. So I'm going to recite together, and there'll be a voice lag or something, but anyway. Om Jnana Timidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes to the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto thee. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupat Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is established in this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya? Give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambitam Shah. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master and under the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brothers, as well as Raghunath Das, Gopal Bhatta, and Shivaji Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, Vaitacharya, Radha, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Shakti. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Oh my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, friend of the distress and the source of creation, you are the master of the gopis, lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchan Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respectful obeisances to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, who is the queen of Vrindavan. You're the daughter of King Shapana.
You are very dear to Lord Krishna.
Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees. You're full of compassion with all the fallen and souls. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Premanayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Buddha Trishe Namaha. O most munificent incarnation, you're Krishna himself, Sri Krishna Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani. You are widely distributed pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances. So today we're starting the last chapter in the Embankment of Separation. And I want to go over this in a few sessions. I feel like this is one of the most important chapters in the book. This is called Mahaprabhu in Gambhira. And it gives a beautiful conclusion to the Embankment of Separation. But as we've been doing, we want to not just read something from it, but we want to contemplate on it. And as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes in one article, he said that most people, most students, are just repositories of information. They just collect information. He said, but a proper disciple should be like a satellite who reflects what they've heard. So we want to go in a certain direction. Today we'll tell a few stories, and it's going to be a little bit simple. It's just going to be on this first couple of paragraphs. And Chaitanya Prabhu, it's so nice to have you back, Chaitanya Prabhu. I really miss your association. I like spending time with you. Would you mind reading something to us? These first couple of paragraphs that are highlighted?
Yeah. So Mahaprabhu in Sri Gambhira. After Gauranga Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he stayed in Jagannath Puri Dham. That Shri Kshetra is also known as Vipralamba Kshetra, the Kshetra where intense pangs of separation are felt. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is in Radha Bhav. He is Krishna, but his mood is different. Radha Bhav is predominating. Although he is Krishna himself, Gauranga Mahaprabhu is always crying for Krishna. And Jagannath is feeling separation from the gopis and Radha. So when they meet, Jagannath sees Radha in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees Syamasundar in Jagannath. Therefore, after separation, union takes place. Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri Dham continuously for 18 years. This Dham is very dear to him. Always ecstatic, feeling the acute pangs of separation from Krishna, Mahaprabhu goes to the temple of Lord Jagannath every day, and Jagannath shows him his beautiful Syamasundar form. Jagannath will only show this beautiful Syamasundar form to one who is in Radha Bhav. Otherwise, if you have no such mood, you cannot see it. This is a question of mood. If you are feeling the acute pangs of separation from Krishna, when you enter into the temple of Jagannath, he will show you his beautiful Syamasundar form. Otherwise, how can you see it? Jagannath will show you the form you want to see.
Okay, so I have a lot of pictures I want to show you tonight. I grew up around in an art colony, and I've always appreciated art very much. And it's something I haven't really been able to focus on so much in our Krishna consciousness. But I'm getting more inspired by it lately. If you've seen our last, 10, 12 issues of Krishna Katamrita Bindu, devotees are getting enthusiastic about it. So here's an old painting. This is a rare photo, which I know the devotees here in the room want to come and look at the computer. You can. This is a painting from the Gambhira, from Haridas Thakur's Samadhi in Jagannath Puri. Can you see it, Krishna?
Yes, I have.
You can show Andy then too.
Yeah, I sent him the card.
Yes, I'm just connecting with him.
Okay, good. So this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Radhakund. The painting is, and it's showing Mahaprabhu offering oblations in Radhakund and how he's seeing a reflection of himself as Radharani. Very beautiful painting and a very, very deep painting indicating the mood of Mahaprabhu, how he's Radhabhava Jyoti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Sarupam. Although he's Krishna Sarup, he's in the mood and with the complexion of Srimati Radharani. So I'll take that picture away. And I wanted to show you a couple of other pictures. This is the Jagannath Mandir. This is a drawing that was done by one Britisher in, let's see, I've got it, 1846 in Jagannath Puri. The temple and cars of Jagannath, Bulbhadra and Subhadra. They got kind of a little truncated on Subhadra. But you can see, I wanted to show these, and there's a couple of other pictures I have, to give some mood and some contemplation about Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri Dham is described in Embankment Separation Guru speaks about how one of its names is Gupta Dham. It's a hidden Dham. This is another old painting that was done in the 1700s of the Jagannath Mandir. Now, of course, this is a few hundred years after the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still, it's over 300 years ago now, and it looks much more the way it must have been at the time of Mahaprabhu than it is today. So, Jagannath Puri is a very mysterious place, as we mentioned. It's called Gupta Dham. It's called Durlabha Kshetra. Durlabha Kshetra means that it's a very difficult place to enter. This is one of the first photographs of the Jagannath Mandir, which was taken in the 1800s. And a little ironically, it looks more like it is today than 20 years ago when I was first going to the Jagannath Mandir. You'll see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, you'll see these little shops that are out here. All of those things, a few years ago, when we first started coming 20 years ago, they have all kinds of shops built up around the Jagannath Mandir. And recently, a few years ago, they destroyed all of them. They were big concrete structures, and so it looks more like this today than it did 20 years ago. Very interesting thing. So I wanted to speak something today then about the Gambhira and about, not so much about the Gambhira, but about Lord Jagannath. And who is Lord Jagannath? Some of this we spoke about in a previous session. I didn't always have pictures, which I do today. Let me show you this. This is a photo that I took myself. The exposure is not so good. But this is a Jagannath Daru in 1996, a little after my Guru Maharaj left this world. They performed the Navakalavram ceremony and they changed the body of Lord Jagannath. And that's quite an involved process. It's a whole another katha, or maybe a series of kathas to speak about Navakalavram. Some of the most important points, very briefly, they take the Daityapadis, the descendants of Vishvavasu's Sabra daughter, and the Brahmin Vidyapati, and those are called Daityapatis, and they're considered to be descendants of a pig farmer. They're not considered to be like regular Brahmins. But during the Navakalavram and during the Rath Yatra, they take care of Lord Jagannath. And so at the beginning of the Navakalavram, those Daityapatis, they come, a group of them, before the temple of Lord Jagannath, inside the temple, and they're presented with one of these, which was given to me by one of the Pandits. This is a Gita Govinda Kandawa. We were speaking about this the other day. This is a cloth which is offered to Lord Jagannath. This is Mahaprasadam, and it has the Gita Govinda written on it. And so they take this Gita Govinda Kandawa and they wrap it around the heads of the Pandits. And they give them a garland, which has a name also. The garland is called the Agya Mala, or the Order Garland. And then they go out on the search for the daughter of Lord Jagannath. And the first thing they do is they go to the nearby temple of Kakatua Devi, and they stay there until they have a dream. And she's considered to be Lord Jagannath's auntie. She's Durga Devi. And she comes in a dream, and she tells them where to look for the tree. And then they look in the Madhula Panji, which is an ancient scripture in the Jagannath Mandir, and it has to be mentioned in the Madhula Panji. It's mentioned in the Madhula Panji, then they go and they look in that place. When they come to the tree has to be neem, the tree has to have 4 branches, not 6, not 5, not 2, not 3, not 1. It has to have 4. It has to have a Shankar Chakra Gada Padma naturally on the tree. I think this right here is the Gada you can see in the tree, the club of Lord Jagannath. This tree has all the 4 natural symbols. The tree has to have an anthill near it, has to have a small mountain near it, has to have a Shiva temple, has to have a lake, has to have several different rare trees growing near it, has to have a cobra living at the base of the tree. And if all of those things are not found when they go there, then they won't accept the tree. It's quite an intensive thing. So this is Daru Brahma, Lord Jagannath. And Sanatana Goswami, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he speaks about Jagannath as avatari. And the Skanda Purana, it describes the words of Narad Muni when he was speaking to Maharaj Indrajumna. This is in the 2nd canto, 2nd chapter of the Skanda Purana. And Narad Muni, he tells Indrajumna Maharaj about the glories of Lord Jagannath, and he recites the following verses from Skanda Purana. Nanatiteshu desheshu chetra satyatanaishu cha angsavataras tasyaiva mabhute samsayonyata. That nanatirteshu desheshu, all the different incarnations in different places and different tirthas, different places of pilgrimage and places and regions, chaitras, deshas, all of these are angsa avatars. They're partial incarnations of Lord Jagannath. And he tells him that Sangsaganyata, don't have any doubt about this, my dear king. This is the fact about Lord Jagannath. In Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita, again Narad Muni, who apparently we can understand is a great authority on Lord Jagannath from the Skanda Purana and Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Narad Muni is speaking to Gopakumar, and he tells him the following verse: Sarva Vatayaraika Nidanas, Sarva Vataraika Nidana Rupas, Tatach Charichani Chasandanoti, Yasmai Charocheta Yat Ashurupam Bhaktaya Tasmai Kalu Darshayat Tat. That he's Sarva Avataraika Nidana Rupas. He has one form, but he's avatari. He's the source of all incarnations. He expands all of his different pastimes. And he says very significantly that whatever of the forms a devotee finds attractive, to that particular form, the Lord manifests before him. And this is what my Guru Maharaj is speaking about here. Let's go back to Embankment of Separation here. He's saying that if someone's in the mood of Radha, Srimati Radharani, she's seeing Krishna, she's seeing Jagannath as Syamasundar Vrindavan Bihari Krishna. Radha Bhava is predominating. So when they meet, Jagannath sees Radha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees Syamasundar and Jagannath. Therefore, after separation, union takes place. And Guru Maharaj speaks about how Mahaprabhu was going to the temple of Jagannath every day. And Jagannath was showing him his beautiful Syamasundar form. Jagannath will only show his beautiful Syamasundar form to one who is in Radha Bhav. And this is an important point. Srila Prabhupada, in one lecture in Vrindavan in 1976, he said that there's 2 different considerations. There's the Goswami Vichar and the Smarta Vichar. Smarta Vichar means a consideration of the Smarta Brahmins. And we see that in Jagannath Puri, they have a certain conception. They consider Jagannath to be avatari, the source of all incarnations. In fact, many of the people in Orissa, they consider that Lord Jagannath is a source of Krishna. And so we'd like to speak something about that today. In the Chaitanya Mangal of Lochandas Thakur, he's also described Lord Jagannath. He says, Yatta avatara tada ashraya sadhana. That Lord Jagannath, he is the resting place of all the different incarnations. So one way that we see that is in the different veshes and the different dresses of Lord Jagannath. That Jagannath, he's avatari. We see that in the artwork in Orissa. Let me show you a couple of pictures here on the screen. This, I'm sorry, this is from one of our magazines, and I printed this in black and white, although it was originally in color. It's a beautiful picture of the 10 avatars, the 10 different incarnations around Lord Jagannath. And this is the conception of the Pandas and the people in Puri. You see Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsimha, Vamana, all the different incarnations. And when it comes to the position of Buddha, then he has the face of Lord Jagannath. Very interesting. So Jagannath, they consider him in Orissa to be avatari. And I'll show you another interesting picture in that regard. This is a couple pictures. This is some local art from Orissa. They make a deity like this. And I remember one of our friends who was actually a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I'm not going to say any names, but he's a very, very senior disciple of Prabhupada. He passed away a few years ago. He's a very good friend of mine for many, many years. And he had a deity from Puri very much like this. And one day he contacted me, and he was a little upset. He said because he went to some temple and they wouldn't let him put his deity on the altar. and what could I say to him? I said, well, Maharaj, because he wanted to approach me to get me to say this form was bona fide. And what could I tell him? I said, well, in the different dresses of Lord Jagannath, sometimes Jagannath has a flute, and sometimes he also has hands, and he has a Vrindavan form. And this particular deity, which you see this painting here, this is a common deity in Orissa today. I don't know that it's such an ancient form of Lord Jagannath. I can't say that I researched that so extensively. I don't know of any temples that have a form like this exactly. But this is the conception in Jagannath Puri, that Lord Jagannath is Vrindavan Bihari Krishna. So let me show you another picture. This is a painting from one of the local Patachitra artists of Orissa, again, which gives the idea that Jagannath is actually Lord Krishna. These are some of the things we like to print in our magazine. But today I wanted to talk to you something about how Jagannath is avatari. Let me just look over a couple of the comments at this point. Hemanti was just commenting about what we shared on WhatsApp. Maybe Krishna Kun could share that with Andi, what I wrote on share. Oh, you'd read it on Facebook or something?
No, on WhatsApp.
Oh, you're part of that. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, she's commenting on that about no hope for ISKCON. She said, I know aspiring devotees have been feeling a bit dejected over recent happenings. But it always happens. And I know devotees who feel dejected over so many things. And just today, we were speaking with one devotee. Just everybody you talk to has some problem. Some people you talk to them and they're, my ex-husband, he's harassing me, he's doing this and that. Or someone else is telling you, I just can't be Krishna conscious because I can't get a husband. And then someone else is saying, I'm just so upset because there's this war going on and the ISKCON leader's this, or there's this scandal or that thing. But really, none of these things have anything to do with our Krishna consciousness. They're just temporary distractions, kind of dramas Just like people like to go to the movies and watch a drama, something exciting. So we also get some excitement when we hear about some drama, some scandal or something in ISKCON. And sometimes we become disturbed by that and go, oh, this or that. But really, none of those things really matter. What matters is taking shelter of the holy name. What matters is our service to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. All these things are distractions, and there's no shortage of these distractions. In all of our lives, everybody has problems. Everybody breaks a bone. Everybody, their mother dies. Their father cheats on their mother. They get married to someone who turns out to be a complete jerk. Everybody has money problems. Everybody has so many different problems. So it's not surprising. Yeah, and Chaitanya Prabhu commented back that I feel for new devotees who have to face this so early in their journey. I was lucky. I felt so much protection in my formative years. Yeah. So what can we do? Sometimes I think Chaitanya Prabhu that anyway, it's just Krishna's arrangement. What can you do? You can't protect everybody, and I'm just not even going to try. It's just Krishna's arrangement, and it's just maybe Krishna's just testing your faith very heavily. But I'm not going to try to argue with anybody or fight or anything. Hemanti is commenting again. And Viren Prabhu looks a little bit like Gopal Jew. Yeah, a little. That form of Jagannath is an interesting form. So today I wanted to go a little bit with you on a little bit of a journey in the form of Jagannath and discuss and try to understand something about how Lord Jagannath is avatari. We wrote some articles about this previously in our Krishna Katamrita magazine. And I part of it we went over in a previous session, which maybe Chaitanya Prabhu wasn't here for that. So let's see. There was a scripture that we found, a very rare book, which I think this one scholar commented there's only like 4 known copies or something like this in this book in existence. It's called the Mahaprusha Vidya. And I found it very interesting in this book. Some of the statements we found in the book are practically echoed by Srila Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So either the conceptions which are found in Mahaprusha Vidya are not that rare, and Sanatana Goswami found in some other literatures, or perhaps they were also known in other places. So he speaks about how Jagannath is Daru Brahma. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a nice verse. Maybe I can put this on the screen. Let's see. Where the form of Jagannath is described. First of all, he's Krishna Prakata Samprati. Daru Jala Rupe Krishna Prakati Samprati. He's the deity for Kali Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in 2 forms, Daru and Jala, in the form of wood and the form of water. Krishna manifests in these 2 forms. Darashana Snani Kori Jivara Mukati. Krishna does this to help the conditioned souls to become liberated. Daru Brahma Rupe Sakshat Shri Purushottam. And that Daru Brahma form, that's Lord Jagannath directly in the form of wood. And Bhagirati Hani Sakshat, the Bhagirati, the Ganga, that's the Jala Brahma, that's the water form of the Lord. So these are the 2 forms of the Lord in Kali Yuga. So Jagannath is the deity for this age of Kali. And that's a significant point because we also know that in the age of Kali, this is the time for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as described elsewhere, I don't have that verse around me right now, but as described elsewhere in the, I think it's in the Naradiya Purana, there's a special connection between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath. And it's mentioned about Mahaprabhu, how the Lord comes in the form of a sannyasi and associates with Lord Jagannath in Puri. So I mentioned about the Mahapurush Vidya. It describes the Mahapurush Vidya that Jagannath is a deity for this age and how he's Daru Brahma and what is the meaning of Daru Brahma. I don't think there's a need to go into that again. He explains in a little detail the meaning of the word daru and how it means someone who breaks apart the conditioned nature of a devotee. But what I wanted to speak a little bit about today is how Lord Jagannath is avatari. And one of the ways that we see this in Lord Jagannath is very striking is his different dresses. Now, if you go to Vrindavan, especially during the month of Kartik, you'll find that the deities of Radha Raman and Radha Damodar and Radha Madan Mohan, etc., they have different dresses that they wear different days during the month of Kartik. But that's a little unusual. And sometimes during the year they have another dress or two, but most of those dresses are Krishna Lila. Occasionally, Radha Syamasundar, they dress him up as Lord Shiva on Shiva Ratri. But other than that, I can't really think of any other particular dress of Lord Jagannath when he takes on a different form, Lord Krishna. But in the case of Jagannath Puri and Jagannath, he has so many different dresses that he wears. So I want to take you through an article that speaks something about some of that. This is the Ramvesh. You see before us Lord Jagannath's dress is Ramachandra. And some of the stories that go along behind this, which help us to understand the position of Lord Jagannath, that he in particular, he shows a particular form that the devotee wants to see him in. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he says, Jai Rupa Chinche Dasi, Se Rupa Hoy, that according to the mood a devotee has, the Lord manifests a corresponding form. That's his nature. Jai Rupa Chinche Dasi, Se Rupa Hoy. The Skanda Purana says a similar thing, Dharmi Graha Pramanena Yadridrisha Sa Eva Sa, that the Lord appears according to the inclination of the worshipper to serve him. So my Guru Maharaj is saying that in this chapter, in the beginning of this chapter, we should understand that Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha. And in the mood of Radha, he's staying in Jagannath Puri because when he comes before Jagannath, he sees Vrindavan Bihari Syamasundar Krishna. Because Krishna Jagannath reciprocates with the mood of the devotees. So now I want to speak a little something to you about Jagannath in the mood of different avatars, and in particular, in the mood of Lord Ramachandra. And there's a few wonderful stories in this regard about Tulasidas, who's a very famous devotee of Lord Jagannath. It's said that once Tulasidas, he was reading Valmiki Ramayana, and he came across a verse which is in the Uttarakanda, chapter 108, text 30 of the Valmiki Ramayana. And this verse was spoken by Lord Ramachandra to Ravan's younger brother Vibhishan. Let me put this verse on the screen here. And Lord Ramachandra told Vibhishan, Kim chanyad vakti michchami rakshasendra mahabala aradaya jagannatham ikshvaku kuladaivatam. So he says that almighty ruler of the Rakshasas, there's one more thing that I want to tell you. That you should aradaya jagannatham, you should worship Lord Jagannath, who's Ikshvaku Kuladaivata, who is the Lord, the deity of the Ikshvaku dynasty. So it's said that when Tulasidas read this, Tulasidas became very impressed because Tulasidas, he's a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So it gave him some desire to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. So he started out from Benares and started walking to Jagannath Puri. And on the way to Puri, there's a place known as Tulsi Sarovar in between Cuttack and Bhubaneswar, where Tulsidas is said to have stopped the night. And then again, he stopped in a place on the bank of the river Bhargavi, in a place called Dandasahi. And there, the villagers, they established a deity of Hanuman at Dandasahi in honor of the visit of Tulsidas many, many years ago, long before the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, is that right? Actually, I'm not sure about the date of that. Please forgive me, I'm not sure. But anyway, this is the deity of Hanuman, who's still there today, just opposite of the place known as Dandabanga. Very beautiful deity of Hanuman. And he's in the just right next to the temple of Dandabanga Gopinath, by the way. If you ever come to Jagannath Puri, we'll have to take you there. He's a very special personality there. So they established that deity of Hanuman there to commemorate the visit of Tulasidas. Then Tulasidas, he went to the Jagannath Mandir in Puri, and he offered his obeisances to Lord Jagannath. But when he offered his obeisances to Jagannath, he felt a little unhappy. He looked at Lord Jagannath, and he thought, Jagannath is supposed to be Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here's a painting of Tulasidas offering his prayers. Offering his prayers to Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. And he didn't see Lord Ramachandra in Jagannath. So Tulasidas, he became a little disappointed. And he thought, this is not good. This is not actually my Lord. And so with a heavy heart, he left. And he didn't even take any prasadam. Now that's really, really bad. And Tulasidas, he left. He walked for about 6 miles away. There's a village called Malatipatapur. For those of you who've been to Jagannath Puri today, Malatipatapur is right near our ashram. In Malatipatapur, they have a big bus stand there today. And that's where Tulasidas, he went. And he took shelter on a raised platform underneath a banyan tree. Later, the locals, let's see if I have a picture of that. I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah. Later, the locals, they made a temple there of Hanuman. Here it is. And they established a Tulsi Stamba hundreds and hundreds of years ago in honor of the visit of Tulsidas. There's a Tulsi Stamba. It's another picture that I took some years ago. So Tulsidas was staying there. It was terrible. He left the temple without taking any prasadam. He just fasted. And that night, Tulsidas, he had a dream, and he saw Lakshmi Devi speaking to Jagannath. And Lakshmi Devi was chastising her husband. Wives are good at that. And Lakshmi Devi was telling Lord Jagannath, she said, my Lord, what is this? This is your devotee. He's come here to Puri. And he didn't take any prasadam. He just left. He was discouraged. He didn't take anything. He's fasting now. And then Tulsidas, he saw that Lord Jagannath took a form of a young boy. And he came to where Tulsidas was resting. And then Jagannath asked him, he said, what have you written in your Ramcharit Manas about the nature of the absolute truth? And let me show you the verse that Tulsidas recited then. Bina pada chailai suni, binu kana, kada binu, karama badai bidi nana. He said, this is the nature of the absolute truth. Bina pada chalai. He has no feet, but he walks. He has no ears. Bina kana. He has no ears, but still he hears. Sino bina. Kara bina karama kara bida nana. He has no hands, but he does so many different actions. Anana rahita shakala rashabhogi, vinubhani bhakata bodha yogi. He doesn't have a mouth, but still he enjoys all types of flavors. Sakala rashabhogi, he's the enjoyer of sakala rasa, all different tastes. He doesn't have a nose, but still he smells all different types of things. His activities are so very, very wonderful that they're all beyond description. So this was a reply that Tulsidas told him. And then that young boy said, so isn't this a form of Jagannath? Doesn't have any hands, doesn't have any feet. And Tulsidas immediately woke up. And the dream was broken, the boy was gone. And the rest of the night he couldn't sleep. He just sat there and just chanted Ram, 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 Ram. And then the next morning, very early, he ran all the way back to the Jagannath Mandir thinking about the dream. And this time, when he entered into the temple, Tulasidas, he had a different vision. And Tulasidas, he saw that Lord Jagannath is Ramachandra. He saw Jagannath as Ramachandra, and he saw Lord Balaram as Lakshman, and he saw Sita Devi instead of Subhadra sitting between them. And then Tulsidas heard this voice. He said, "My dear saint, you see me? This is myself. I possess hands, legs, and ears and nose, but I take the form that my devotees want to see me in. Bhagavatam 3.9.11. Very important verse. 3.9.11. Yeah. That whatever form that the devotees are attracted to, the Lord manifests a corresponding form. And so then Tulsidas, he became really, really ecstatic and emotional. He started crying and crying. And he, at that time, he's singing the flag of Lord Jagannath. He recited a particular song. And later they established a deity of Lord of Hanuman to commemorate where Tulsidas was staying. They commemorate so many deities of him. This is a picture of the lake with a temple. Beautiful, beautiful temple and place. Let's see here. Oh, I don't know. Can you see that? It's a long picture. Very beautiful lake. This is about 3 or 4 photos put together into one. So this was Tulsidas's visit to Jagannath Puri. There's another story also that they tell in Puri about this, that Tulsidas, when he heard that about Jagannath, that he was actually Lord Ramachandra, he went for having darshan. He didn't see Lord Ram, so he was disappointed. So then he was leaving the temple, and as he was coming down the Baishi Pahacha, the 22 steps in front of the temple, suddenly a monkey came. And the monkey grabbed his chadar and took it away. And Tulsidas didn't know what to do. It was dark, he couldn't see anyone. And then suddenly some personality appeared who was very effulgent. His face was glowing, he seemed divine. And he spoke to the monkey, he said, "Hey, you give that chadar back to Tulsidas." And the monkey very quickly did that. And then the monkey and that divine personality disappeared. And Tulsidas was just standing there amazed. And then that night he had a dream, and he heard the Lord's voice. And he said that "I'm surprised you were disappointed leaving the temple. You couldn't feel my presence in the form of Lord Jagannath. He and I are one. And that monkey who took your chadar was actually Hanuman. And that divine man who came and ordered the monkey to give you the chadar back, that was actually Vibhishan, the younger brother of Ravan." And here's a nice painting of that pastime also. And you see the monkey on top of the Jagannath Mandir with Tulsidas's chadar. And here's this effulgent Brahmin personality who's actually Vibhishan and Tulsidas in front of him. So this is the nature of the Lord. He manifests a particular form according to the particular mood of the devotee. And that's what I wanted to stress on today. And therefore we have this form. Jagannath has so many different dresses. And these dresses are unique because these dresses are not just different pastimes of Krishna, but they're pastimes of the different avatars of Krishna also. And that's very unique from other temples. Here's another painting, Odia painting, of Lord Jagannath in his Ramachandra Vesh. And so Lord Jagannath has many different Veshas that he dresses in throughout the year. And as I mentioned, he's known as avatari. Here's another painting, this is a photo that I took. It's a little difficult picture to get, over the front gate of the temple, the western gate. And this is the just above the gate, and you can see the different Das avatars, the different 8 incarnations. And again, in the place of Buddha, they put Lord Jagannath there. Some of them consider that Jagannath is a form of Buddha. And let's see, here's another picture too. This is from the Rathayatra cart. This is another picture I took. This is in 2008 I took this. And this is of one of the deities. There's different deities on the cart of Lord Jagannath, and this is Lord Nrsingadev. And Lord Jagannath, he dresses up as Lord Nrsingadev, he dresses up as Vamanadev, he dresses up in so many, many different dresses throughout the different days of the year, because Lord Jagannath is considered to be avatari. So that's the point I wanted to make today. A simple thing with a few stories. And to help us understand something that Guru Maharaj is pointing out here in the beginning, how Lord Jagannath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radha, and Jagannath, he's reciprocating with everybody's particular mood. But when Radharani comes before him, then he manifests the form of Syamasundar Vrindavan Krishna. And some people say, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta comments on this. He says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the first time he went to the Jagannath Mandir, I have a nice painting of this too. I don't have it handy. First time he went to the temple of Jagannath, Mahaprabhu became ecstatic, and he ran to embrace Lord Jagannath. And he came very close to the deity, and then he fell down unconscious. And the Pandus, famously, that they went to beat him, and it was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya who came and stopped them from doing that. So after that, from that time on, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wouldn't go close to the deity of Lord Jagannath, but rather he would stay by the Garuda Stamba. And it's said that by the Garuda Stamba, Mahaprabhu could not see, and they say this to this day, for those of you who've been inside the Jagannath Mandir, Chaitanya Prabhu, you've been inside the Jagannath temple? Yes, okay. They say, maybe you can confirm this or not, they say that from the Garuda Stamba, now maybe you have to be 7 feet tall. Chaitanya was almost 7 feet tall. But from the Garuda Stamba, you're not able to see Balaram and Subhadra, but you can only see Lord Jagannath. Is that right? Did you notice that?
Yeah, from what I can remember, yeah. Been a long time, actually.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta commented that this was the inner reason. He had an antaranga karana and a bahiranga karana, an internal reason and an external reason why he was standing by the Garuda Stamba. And the internal reason was because he was in the mood of Radha. And Srimati Radharani becomes shy when she sees Balaram and Subhadra. She just likes to see Krishna and Jagannath. So he would stand there in the mood of Radha. The external reason, the Bahiranga Karan, is for Loka Siksha, to teach us that what is the meaning of darshan. The darshan doesn't mean that we see the Lord, but rather we should act in such a way that the Lord will see us. And Mahaprabhu thought in his Dainyabhava, his humility, why will Jagannath want to see me? But if I stand next to Garuda, then definitely Jagannath will want to see Garuda, because Garuda is his dear devotee, so I'll be seen. This is a painting by an artist from the 1940s who passed away in 1957 or something. His name was Kartik Biswas. He was in the Bengali School of Art. And this is a picture of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu falling unconscious in front of Lord Jagannath. And you see the Pandus with sticks getting ready to beat him. And this is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who's stopping them from beating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is important. This last chapter, we're going to conclude things in this book. And what we're going to be hearing about is what is Mahaprabhu's mood in the Gambhira, and why is it that he came to Jagannath Puri. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And if anybody has any reflections or questions or comments or anything, you can go ahead and let us have it. Maybe Hemanti, do you have anything you want to share today?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Prabhu. I really liked how you described the picture of Lord Jagannath, the Daru, and what they look for in that specific tree. I think that was very nice. Something new I learned. Thank you,
It's
Prabhu.
interesting thing to me about Jagannath, we covered a little bit in our last session, is that Jagannath, when Gurmukh says, is Aishtarja Matuji Mangalamilan, Jagannath, is a combined form of opulence and sweetness. That's Lord Jagannath. So that opulence is manifested in the form of different rituals, things like that, part of which are there very much in the Navakaleva festival. So thank you, Hemanti.
Thank you as always, Prabhu.
Yeah, nice to have you with us again. Aaron Prabhu, do you want to share anything? There you are. Well, we can't hear your voice. We can see you. Looks like the power's off there. You having load shedding? We still can't hear you. We can see your lips moving, but there's no sound coming out.
Oh, sorry, Prabhu. Okay,
No,
can you see me? I'm sorry, I'm using my cell phone light. We're in load shedding. There's no power, Prabhu. So, no, Prabhu, nothing really. Just appreciating the lecture and appreciating, the fact that. So even when I've been to Jagannath Puri, it's always that you look, you only see the form of Lord Jagannath, and it's nice to know that there are these different forms, and depending on the mood, Lord Jagannath then reciprocates according to those mood and shows those various dresses, and I quite appreciate that. So it also teaches me that there's a lot more that I need to learn, about Jagannath Puri. So I'm actually looking forward to the content and the lectures that are yet to come.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. One thing that I find very attractive about Jagannath and very beautiful is that you can see the practical exhibition of unity and diversity, which is something Srila Prabhupada spoke about quite often. And there you go, your power is back on again.
No. I put another light on.
Oh, okay.
My mom brought another one of those LED lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we see that then in Jagannath Puri, there's so many different conceptions of Jagannath, and it's okay. Nobody's disturbed if you think that Jagannath is Buddha. Nobody's disturbed if you think he's Ramachandra. Some think he's Lord Nrsingadev. Some think that he's Lord Shiva, and some see him as Krishna in Dwarka. Some see him as Krishna in Vrindavan. Some see him as Krishna with Radharani. And we spoke something about that because he's avatari. So that's an important thing. In our movement, we speak a lot about this, and we have this on a practical level. We should see the positive. I mean, our movement is an astonishing movement. Prabhupada used to say this is a real United Nations, to see how so many different people who are very, very different in terms of their psychophysical, economic natures, they're coming together and they're cooperating and working together. It's just unheard of. But still within our society, sometimes we do tend, I think, to not be as broad-minded as we might be able to. And we want to insist on certain things. Actually, it's a little paradoxical because Krishna says in the Gita that Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana, we should be one-pointed. But then at the same time, we're being told that we should be so broad-minded that we can accept everybody, but we have to be very one-pointed. And that one-pointedness we want to have also in our association. But we want to be very broad-minded. Bhaktivinoda said that if we go to other lands and we see the Lord worshipped in a temple in a different way, we should think this is my Lord, but he's being worshipped in a different mood here. But I want to see him in my particular mood, just like Tulasidas when he came before Lord Jagannath. So that's one thing that I find very beautiful about Lord Jagannath. He's like the perfect manifestation of unity and diversity. Okay, Amy, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Hey, Andy, do you want to share anything? Andy's here in the room with us. Yes, no? I'm going to turn the camera if you do.
Well, yes, and because I'm always so confused when you ask me to, because it's difficult for me to put my thoughts together, but I try. So when you say that the Lord reciprocates the way we approach Him, and He manifests a form that we wish to see, and is it something that okay, the question is, when will it be revealed, or that it comes naturally, or can I be attracted to a particular form, and it will be like what the Lord will manifest, or it will be something else? Understand?
Yes, so we have a phrase in Sanskrit, sthayi-bhav. Sthayi-bhav means that our fixed nature, and we have an Ishtadev. And an Ishtadev is our worshipable Lord. And it's sometimes devotees, they just kind of sentimentally just decide that they like a particular deity. Like I was telling a story when I'd been in the temple for a few weeks or something, and someone gave me a deity of Garuda, and it was really cool. Yes, I'm a Garuda Bhakta. Because I wanted it to have some kind of thing. But actually, that sthayi-bhav, that Ishtadev, is something which comes to us from Krishna in a natural way. And we'll all see Krishna in different ways according to our own mood, just like your father. For the daughter might see the father as a very angry person. Or maybe the daughter sees the father as someone who always buys her candy and sits her on the lap or whatever. He sees in a certain way. But that's not the way the mother sees the father. She sees him as that romantic boy who took me on a date, and then we got married. They have a very, very different, she has a very, very different vision of them. So we all see everyone in a different way. We're going to see Guru in a different way. Here in Hungary, there's many devotees I see have different relationships with Srila Shivaram Maharaj. And some of them, they're very friendly with him, very intimate. And some of them, I even know a few devotees who kind of they have a relationship, they can disagree with him and even kind of argue with him. It's not such a simple thing. And then other devotees, you have other devotees who start shaking when they see Maharaj, and they're like this. So Guru also has so many different relationships according to the particular mood that we have. But that's a natural thing. As we come closer to somebody, as we serve someone, as we try to understand their mood, they'll reveal themselves more and more to us. And therefore, Krishna in the Gita, he says, Bhakti Mama Vijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tatvata. That the only person who can really understand me is someone who's my devotee, someone who has bhakti. Krishna, do you want to add anything?
I was very struck by this thing that is not new, but
keep speaking loud, it's good.
I was very struck by this phrase that only to one who is in head above does Jagannath Krishna reveals himself as Syamasundar. And I was wondering what that means for us. Does that mean anything for us?
Yes, it certainly does. Bhakti Thakur in his Harinam Chintamani has given a commentary in the last chapter on the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He's given an anagram. Anagram means each sentence begins with one word of the Mahamantra. The first sentence begins with Hare, next sentence begins with Krishna, next sentence Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he explains the meaning of the Mahamantra. And I remember reading that in Bengali. And first thing we were surprised about, I was reading with a friend of mine who's Bengali is better than me. We were surprised that nobody had translated this before. And then we started reading it and we found, oh my gosh, this is really, really very intimate. It was saying things like, excuse me, but Krishna Hare means Krishna's taking away Radharani's underwear and this and this. And we were very shocked. What is this in Harinam Chintamani, which is like a very basic book? And we couldn't understand what was being said. So years later, we gave a series of classes about the Mahamantra. And I did some more research on that. And what we found is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us a meditation on the Mahamantra. And the meditation is Radharani's meditation. This is what Radharani's thinking, that Hare means that Krishna is taking away my clothes, he's doing this and this, and it's very intimate. It's not meant for us. In other words, when we're doing our Nam-bhajan, we're chanting, and we're chanting with this idea in mind, because our chanting is not for us. Our chanting is for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's in the mood of Radha. He's tasting the mood of Radha, and this is what Radharani's meditating on. So this is my understanding in response to your question of the importance of understanding how Mahaprabhu is in Radha Bhav, and therefore he sees Jagannath as Syamasundar Krishna. He sees him in that particular way. And what is significant for us is that our bhajan pranali, and we'd like to call this our Gambhira bhajan pranali, our system of bhajan coming from the Gambhira, is that we're doing bhajan for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you've heard me speak about this so many times. I'm going to repeat some things that we see in the Gambhira. Swarup Damodar and Lord Ramachandra are doing bhajan. They're singing songs, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're reading the Bhagavatam. We do the same things. But when they're doing it, it's not for themselves. We do something extra for Ekadasi, or extra for Kartik or something, and because my senses are really out of control, or I need to calm my mind down, so I'm going to chant extra. It's for me, my bhajan. But their bhajan is for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're doing that kirtan, that recitation, because Mahaprabhu appreciates it. And so this conception is very important then. We need to understand what is the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is our latest magazine, just by the way, to give a little shout out about our magazine, our Krishna Katamrita Bindu. This issue we just made about understanding the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let's see if I can find this. Well, here's the same issue in Russian, but you can see the picture at least. Yeah, I haven't shown it on the screen yet. It's coming. The Russian issue comes out at the same time as our English issue. And I can't read the Russian, but the translation is that understanding the mood. Yeah, understanding the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we see Mahaprabhu clutching a peacock feather, and he's crying. He's in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So this is a very, very important thing. And this is the conclusion of the embankment of separation, is that we want to understand the inner mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can understand many things about him, just like we can understand something about the President of the United States, and we can speak about the powers of the President. We can speak about the formal things that he does and how he's in charge of the army and how he can make decisions and do this and this. But to speak something closer, he's a person. And Mr. Biden, he likes ice cream, apparently. We can say he likes his dog. And those are personal characteristics about him. So if we really want to come close to him, it's not enough just to know about his powers and position, but we want to know his personality. And so this entire book, as we've been saying, The Embankment of Separation, is meant to help us understand the inner mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the last chapter, the Mahaprabhu and the Gambhira, is speaking about the highest wave in that ocean of Gaurabhav and Jagannath Puri. Is that helpful, Krishna? Why it's important to understand about Radha Bhav and Mahaprabhu and Jagannath like that?
I was more... It's always helpful to hear this again. I'm hoping it will go deeper this time. Somehow I keep thinking that there is more to this sentence than what you said now. So I just did that.
Okay. Look up that. There must be lots more than we can pick up. Viren Prabhu also comments, it also reminds me of a chapter of the Bhagavatam when Krishna enters Dwarka and Mathura. And Prabhupada explains how all the citizens saw Krishna in different forms as Krishna reciprocated according to their mood and devotion. Yeah. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam when Krishna enters Mathura, and I think they see him in 11 different ways. Our acharyas have commented. It's the same Krishna, but they see him in so many different ways. It's a very, very important principle. It's an important principle because, too, if we want to get to know someone, let's just say we're friends here. If I want to try to get to know Chaitanya Prabhu, now I haven't spent so much time with him. I met him first some years ago in Bhubaneswar when he came to visit us. I've seen him a few times in South Africa. I've seen him sometimes online, but I haven't spent that much time with him. And those of you here, Krishna Balaram Prabhu and Mukunda and Himanti, you know him better than I do. Now, if I were to go to South Africa and try to be buddy-buddy with Chaitanya Prabhu, and I try to push you out of the way, it wouldn't be right because you already have a friendship with him and you know him in a way that I don't know, an intimate way that I don't know. And now we're talking about God, we're talking about Krishna, and he has so many devotees. And we want to come close to him. We want to come close to his devotees. So it's very, very fundamentally essential that in the beginning I understand this point that Krishna loves so many different devotees. He has so many different relationships. And some of them I might think, this guy is really weird. He looks like he hasn't taken a bath in a long time. He's got ashes all over his body. He's got dreadlocks. He doesn't have any clothes on. He's riding on a bull. But he's actually Krishna's dearest devotee, Lord Shiva. And it's just not my business to try to comment on his type of dress or his mood or whatever. So it's a very, very important principle to understand the mood of the Lord. I hope that's helpful for everybody. Chaitanya Prabhu, do you want to share anything before we go?
Yeah, thanks, Prabhu. The one thought that came to mind was, from the mercy of Lord Jagannath, also kind of related to what you were saying about the unity and diversity. I was just thinking about all the different devotees that are actually serving Jagannath, so similar to what you were saying. But going back to that comment about Jagannath as avatari, so are you saying do they see Jagannath as Swayam Bhagavan as the original form, or do they see and that's why they got Syamasundar form with the Jagannath's face on it? Is that what you kind of alluding to?
In Jagannath Puri, there are so many different people. There are literally, I could show you photos, Muslims who worship Jagannath, and they consider him to be Allah. And there are literally Christians who worship Jagannath, and they come to the Rath Yatra. There's villages in Orissa where the Muslims build the Rath Yatra cart. That's a tradition for so long. There's so many, and they all have so many different conceptions. And you can't say one conception is right, another conception is wrong. They're all, but what we want to know, and this is what Guru Maharaj is pointing out here in this beginning of this chapter, what is the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Well, how does he see Lord Jagannath?
I guess that's why also it's part of that mercy of Jagannath that he allows those kind of relationship and brings back to the reciprocation that he has with those devotees, allowing that mood to continue. And I guess for our perspective, to deepen that mood and the reciprocation would kind of follow from that perspective, so that we can get to see to whatever level that we can see Lord Jagannath, right?
Yeah. One of my favorite commentaries I've ever heard about Lord Jagannath came from South Africa. I think it was in Durban one year that Indudumna Maharaj was giving a lecture that I heard about at the Rath Yatra. And he was trying to explain to people, what are these deities? Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. So he said, this is unity and diversity. See, we've got a black guy and a white guy and a yellow girl. So we have all the different races here. And that's Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Now, some of our Gaudiya Vaishnava friends in India, if they would hear that, they would probably have a heart attack. Oh my God, what kind of comment is this about Jagannath? But it's actually correct. And Maharaj, this is the vision that some people may have of Lord Jagannath. And I find it very beautiful that Maharaj would speak like that, even because he's expressing Jagannath in a way that they can see and understand. And innately then, for those of us who see and understand Jagannath to be Krishna, innately we see and understand, that Jagannath is a very high, intimate thing. And he's going to have so many different forms and so many different relationships with different people. And that's why we made this magazine, The Hidden Identity of Lord Jagannath, with an article with the same title, which is a long article and speaks about so many different forms of Lord Jagannath, and how the politicians see him as a head of state, and the musicians see him in a certain way. And here's a picture of some Muslims taking Jagannath Mahaprasad. I'm trying to see how to turn the magazine. It's a little hard with the camera. Let's see.
That's perfect. Amazing.
Jagannath Puri is such a place. Okay.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder for somebody like Sarvabhauma, because he was there as described as a logician. How is it then, first of all, he can identify a Lord Chaitanya with the powers that he's actually displaying, and then he actually received the mercy, like he was an ideal receptacle from that perspective? The reciprocation seems causeless, as they would say.
Well, Sarvabhauma, first of all, was the cousin of Gopinath Acharya. And from what I deduce from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, is that the Gopinath Acharya was so dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhauma must have gotten some mercy. There's a number of verses like that in different places in Shastra, how the family members of the devotee are also very dear to the Lord. So Sarvabhauma got some mercy because he's Gopinath Acharya's cousin. And when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's a logician, but he's also so learned in Shastra, he could see the different ecstatic symptoms in the body of Mahaprabhu. And it must have touched his heart. So then he ordered the Pandits, don't beat him. And then he had them take Mahaprabhu to his home. And then famously, Mahaprabhu asked him to speak to him about Vedanta for 7 days. But to charge his book, this nonsense Mayavad philosophy. And then Mahaprabhu was quiet. Mahaprabhu touched the heart of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And when he got the mercy of Sarvabhauma, got Mahaprabhu's mercy, then he could understand Mahaprabhu in a deeper way. So what I deduce from that whole description is that mercy that Sarvabhauma was getting was coming in different degrees. First of all, there's some mercy that he's getting because he's living in the Dham. He's a great devotee of Lord Jagannath. He's studying Shastra. He's serving Maharaj Prataparudra, who's also a great devotee. And then he's a cousin of Gopinath Acharya. Each one of those things are some piety. And each one of them is like another piece to a puzzle, which adds to the greatness of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes one of the names of Mahaprabhu is Sarvabhauma Shodhana, that he's the purifier of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So Sarvabhauma had so much, but there was some external pride in him, it seems, in being a great scholar, which is something that happens generally when people spend a lot of time studying Shastra. We become very proud. And he thought himself special and different than other persons. And then Mahaprabhu smashed his pride. And then Sarvabhauma became the recipient of Mahaprabhu's mercy, and he saw the Lord, and Mahaprabhu manifested his Sadbhuj form before him. And that's a whole other thing.
Amazing, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Let me see something here. I think I can show you guys another painting or two. Oh, no. Maybe it's not so easy. Maybe it is. Yes, it is. Okay. There's two other paintings I have. This is also done by Kartik Biswas. This is Mahaprabhu sitting before Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And in this painting, it appears that it was after Mahaprabhu heard from Sarvabhauma for a week, and then Sarvabhauma asked Mahaprabhu, "Did you understand?" And he said, "Yes, I understand Vedanta, but what I couldn't understand was your explanations." And Sarvabhauma became a little annoyed and said, "Well, can you say something better?" And then Mahaprabhu said, "Well, if you like." And then he began to explain the Atmaran verse. And it appears by the hand gesture of Mahaprabhu and the attentive nature of Sarvabhauma in the picture that Mahaprabhu was beginning to speak to him. And then at the end of their discussion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave his complete mercy to Sarvabhauma, and he manifested before him his Sadbhuj Vesh. And here's a painting of that, also done by Kartik Vishwas. Okay. Anything else, Chaitanya Prabhu?
That's good for me. Thanks, Prabhu.
Okay. Krishna Kun has some
I have
comment.
a question.
Okay, has a question.
I really like your unity in diversity comment about Lord Jagannath. And I was very intrigued and touched by what you said afterwards, that we have one-pointed association, but also broad-minded. And you gave the example of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If we go to a different country, then we should see that this is my Lord, but worshipped in a different way. My question is referring to the one-pointed association. What exactly
does that mean?
I mean, I have some idea what it might mean for me, but if you have any comments.
Yeah, you know what is once one with my Guru Maharaj, once one Prabhupada disciple said to my Guru Maharaj said to him, he said, "I'm here, I have no association." And the devotee, because there's hundreds of devotees around Guru Maharaj, what does he mean, no association? But he took it to mean that there's no like-minded association. And so then he said, "Well, Guru Maharaj, what about Sriniketan Das Babaji?" And Sriniketan Das Babaji was a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta who liked our Guru Maharaj very much. And he used to come to regularly see him in Bhubaneswar and spend time with him. And my Guru Maharaj at that time, and Guru Maharaj was always very reverent with him, and they'd have long talks and things. So when this devotee suggested, he said, "Well, Guru Maharaj, what about Sriniketan Das Babaji?" Guru Maharaj said, "No, he is a Ram Bhakta. I'm a Krishna Bhakta." So when you asked that question, this came to my mind, Guru Maharaj's relationship with Sriniketan Das Babaji. He was very friendly with him, but at the same time, that friendship only went so deep. And so we should learn the art of relationships. We may have love for different persons. That love may be very sweet, but it's not going to be as deep as when we find someone who has the same mood, the same internal mood that we do, or the same mood we should say of our Gurudev. The same kind of mood, same understanding we have of our Gurudev. I should put it that way. Is that helpful, Kwan? Okay. All right, Chaitanya Prabhu, what do you think? Should we wrap it up?
Yes, bro, I think we're good. Thank you so much for this amazing class, as always.
I'm sorry, was it too many pictures? Was that okay? Or?
Oh, it was beautiful.
No. I think it's great.
All right.
It changes it up and
helps keep everybody awake, right?
Yeah. No.
I have a big art collection. Krishna Kun can tell you I spend hours and hours practically every week just looking for different paintings and collecting things. And even recently we sent someone, the cover of our last magazine, we sent someone to a temple in Jaipur to take photos of an old painting that was there, which I was trying to get photos of, but the Pujari wouldn't let me take. And we were there. Special. So this local person, he actually found a doctor who just done surgery for the Pujari.
Yeah.
The doctor convinced the Pujari that you got to let him take this photograph. And that's the only way we got the picture for the cover of our last magazine. So yeah, I'm into it. We're always trying to collect paintings and things, and they're important.
Yeah. It was nice. I was also looking again on Facebook. You were asking for the photo or the painting of the Panchatattva from the early days, right? The first one. It was interesting, some of the responses, if I'm remembering correctly. I can't remember who was saying it, but the Prabhupada was physically showing how to paint. Am I right in saying that? Which was amazing. I mean, can you just think about Prabhupada and with the devotees virtually there holding your hand, kind of painting these paintings. It must be just something amazing.
Yeah, let's see here. I'll show you that painting. Show everybody that painting here. Let's see. That's. Yep, I'm putting it on the screen. Here it is. There we go. Actually, there's two paintings you'll see on the screen here. Not one painting and one deity. The deity on the left is the first deity of ISKCON. And it's never been in ISKCON. But this deity was established by Srila Prabhupada in Jhansi in the 1950s. And later, when Prabhupada had the League of Devotees. And then later, Prabhupada donated this deity to his godbrother, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And it's found today in the Keshavji Gaudiya Math in Mathura. Now on the right, this is that painting you're just mentioning. This was done by Jadharani, but Jadharani commented, she said, this is one of her first paintings. Now, Krishna Kund and I, a few years ago, we went to 26 2nd Avenue, and you can find on the walls in there some of the original paintings that Jadharani did. Now, at the risk of being offensive, those paintings look like something that my 4-year-old nephew did or something. They're like very, very crude and childlike. These are her early paintings, and of course, for those of us who follow the career of Jadharani Syamarani, you know she's a genius, and she's done some of the most amazing paintings in the world. But at that time, her paintings were very, very crude. If you look in this painting here, and you see, she told us that this was Haridas Thakur here, with his hands folded. This is Mukunda with a mridanga and his 4 sons. And of course, we have Advaita Charya and Gadadhar, and Nityananda and Gadadhar and Srivas and Mahaprabhu. If you look at Advaita Charya or Mukunda, maybe Haridas Thakur, you see their faces, they're little cartoonish kind of. And this is a little more like Jadharani's early paintings. But if you look closely at the facial features in this painting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda and Gadadhar, they're so beautiful. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Look at them. And Srivas, they're just so beautiful. And her early paintings are just not like this, with all respect to Jadharani. But according to her, Prabhupada practically took his hand and made these paintings. Beautiful.
Amazing.
So anyway, there's a whole photo essay, 8-page photo essay in this issue of the magazine with all kinds of ancient deities of Mahaprabhu, going all the way up to the very first deities in Jhansi, Prabhupada, and then this deity here of Chaitanya, this deity of the Panchatattva painting. And there's also, let me just, since we're talking about all this, and it's kind of like show and tell. I like show and tell. I'll show you another another deity here. There's actually quite a few deities. This deity right here. You can see these are the deities of Radha Madhav and Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And these are also first and special deities. These deities, this deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with a kind of amazing kind of smirk on his face. I don't know what to say. He looks like he's completely intoxicated. This is the deity, the first deity in the Gaudiya Math. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he took a vow to chant 1 billion names. He was chanting 3 lakhs a day. And he was sitting in front of this deity for 9 years, all day long, chanting 3 lakhs a day in front of this deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And later he established these deities also of Radha Madhav. They're in the Rudra Math, Rudra Gaudiya Math today in Mayapur.
So Radha Madhav was coming later. Mahaprabhu was the one.
Yeah, Mahaprabhu was at first and Radha Madhav came later. And there's so many deities in this photo essay, otherwise we're going to get into the whole thing. Actually, I'm thinking to go through this a little bit in our next session when we talk about the next part of Embankment separation. Okay? So let me finish there. And I've been talking too much. So thank you all so much. It's really nice to see everybody. And I'm just making a complaint that we miss Mukunda, we miss Krishna Balaram Prabhu and Mataji. So I hope we get to see you guys. Not next week. Next week for us is the Purnima Festival in Budapest. But the week after that, we should be online, right, Krishna Kun? There's no reason. We won't be in Ega that week, right? On Sunday?
No,
Ega's a Saturday program, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Patitanam Prabhu